it's looking more and more like Dominick Puni could be a plug-and-play guy at right guard.
Yeah.
And Drake Nugent, to me, is showing good things in practice. Now, the Niners have a bunch of centers. They've got Brendel, they've got Feliciano, they've got Nugent, they've got Zakel. Today they brought in F-Line or F-Lean and Elf-Lean, right? Elf-Lean?
Yeah,
That's
I think
right.
it's that. Yeah.
From Ohio State, and he's more of an interior guy. But what do you think? I mean, Dominick Puni, to me, looks like a guy who we haven't seen a 49er offensive lineman, a rookie, step right in and play. But I get the vibe that they feel really good about Puni, and he checks a lot of boxes, and he may be the exception to the rule. He may be. They do need more juice.
And athleticism.
I think at center and right guard.
I completely agree with you. And it makes me think of the conversation that you and I had months ago, where we went through 9 or 10 different offensive line combinations that I had. And we talked about which players could realistically play at center and right guard. You have Trent Williams at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard. Colton McKivitz is going to be this team's right tackle. He's the shoo-in to win that job once again. So center, right guard. There are so many different options. You can go the safe route with Jake Brendel. You could go the upside route with the player who had terrific snaps on tape at Michigan and has so far looked very strong in Drake Nugent. You can go with John Feliciano there, although he's been hurt. Spencer Burford, right guard. John Feliciano, right guard. Or Dominick Puni. And I think what's happened with Puni is a great development here. You said it. You need some juice on this offensive line. And I know that you have the opportunity to return all 11 starters for an offense that was the #1 overall unit in the National Football League last year. Continuity is great, right? But the offensive line play is still something to be desired, right? It can improve. And it improving requires some players with physicality, nastiness, youth, little bit of swagger, and physicality. I think Dominick Puni brings that to the table. This is a left tackle from the college ranks who also played right tackle and left guard, never right guard, who has positional versatility. He has good size and athleticism. He's a good scheme fit for how he can get out in space. When you play on the exterior at tackle, you have to be fleet of foot. He brings that to the table at guard. And I think his experience has really been impressive. And from the college ranks, where he was at Central Missouri for 4 years and then Kansas for a 5th, where he played so many games at all these different positions that he's now been thrust to the right guard spot because of Spencer Burford breaking his hand and John Feliciano being hurt. And he's given this team something. Now, he had the blitz pickup the other day, which was awesome, that I read about, against Fred Warner. And then he got beat once, but then Chris Forster corrected his hand placement. Boom, next snap, he's there stuffing it. So you see development, you see potential, you see ability, you see some juice, which I want to see. And I think that if he wins right guard, that's a great thing. It also improves your football team, I think, now and in the long run, because I like the upside of the player. And if Drake Nugent can start at center, I'm excited to watch him in the preseason open. I really want to see how his play translates, because Jake Brendel kind of is who he is. He's been a journeyman center up until 2 years ago. I know that he was a Pro Bowl alternate. I think sometimes that's overrated nowadays. We saw last year sometimes against a Chris Jones, against some really physical defensive linemen, he can struggle a little bit. So why not see what Drake Nugent can do? And you have Jake Brendel under contract, who's a great backup option if that's the route that you need to go.
My buddy Kyle Madsen, who writes for Niners Wire, USA Today, writes for USA Today Touchdown Wire, has an article up, stock down on guys from camp. And he's got stock up on Jordan Mason, who does look great.
Yeah.
Stock down on Isaac Guerrero, who's, got a
hurt
hamstring injury.
Yep.
Stock up on Ricky Pearsall. Thought that was a good one. Stock down on Burford, who's got a broken hand. It did come out today. There won't be surgery. So he's probably going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, not, 3 to 4 months. So that's good. Stock up on Dominick Puni, stock down, he says, on Jacob Cowing, which I think is probably a little too critical, because to me, Cowing looks great. It's just a matter of the hamstring, really.
Yeah.
And then the last one he has here, stock up on the second-year linebackers. And Nick Sorensen really talked up both Jalen Graham and D. Winters in a recent presser. what do you think? I mean, do you think there's a chance that Graham or Winters or even Bethune, who I thought today was fantastic. I thought Tatum Bethune, he had a fumble recovery that he ran back. He had a couple big hits. Those three young linebackers to me look like they might really threaten Devondre Campbell for his starting linebacker job. What do you think? I mean, Campbell to me has looked just okay in this camp.
Okay. I was going to ask you how he's looked because he was an All-Pro a couple of years ago, but the play really declined after that when he was an All-Pro back in, I think, 2021. And I know that he's very motivated and he tweeted out that he's loving football once again because he didn't like the situation in Green Bay and now he's with San Francisco. But I think that's more of a safe play in you signing him, right? Veteran that's played a lot, All-Pro, not really going to help on special teams, but if we need him to play as a starter, that's fine. That's the Drake Greenlaw holdover plan. But if we're seeing a youth movement from San Francisco on a team that is a little bit cash-strapped moving forward, and we're seeing Dominick Puni play well, and we're seeing Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall perform well, Drake Nugent, and then D. Winters and Jalen Graham, first of all, it means that your player evaluation and scouting department are crushing it, which is great for sustained success if you want to be a repeat winner for a long time and continue to build on this 5-year stretch, which has been phenomenal outside of not winning the Super Bowl, cannot be denied. Then that's a great sign. And last year in the preseason, loved what D. Winters did. Jalen Graham, little bit small, but man, they play like they were shot out of a cannon. They have great speed sideline to sideline. And what has this Niners organization done at a really high level right now, led by Johnny Holland? They developed the heck out of linebackers. Yeah. Fred Warner, Drake Greenlaw. Think back in the Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis, who's getting inducted in the Hall of Fame this weekend days. This Niners team has always had legendary linebackers and defensive players. Ronnie Lott, of course, at safety, right? But if you're drafting and developing these players and they're becoming plug-and-play guys, what does it allow you to do? You can continue to pay big-time dollars to your other players, but you're replenishing the cupboard as far as your talent. You're getting youthful, that juice that we keep talking about, which I think is needed to just keep things going for a team that's won a lot. D. Winters, Jalen Graham are players who I think can be very solid, instinctual. I like the speed and physicality element. I think they can challenge Devondre Campbell. And if they can, just like Dominick Puni or Drake Nugent starting along the offensive line, I know this is a team that has Super Bowl hopes, right? But that's not necessarily a bad thing if they can plug and play from the jump.
As far as injuries today, Spencer Burford, as we said, not going to require surgery in the broken hand. Pat Elflein suffered a calf injury in the first practice. He hobbled off. Aaron Banks is dealing with back spasms, didn't go. Logan Thomas with a hamstring. Juwan Jennings in the early going here with an ankle injury. They think he should return soon. The Niners will be back on the practice field tomorrow in Santa Clara as they get ready.
Nothing serious so far. That's all you want.
Yeah, nothing serious.
Jeez, knock on wood.
What do you think? Let's talk about the tight end position for a second, because I think that's an interesting one for the 49ers. There's obviously George Kittle, and then, Cam Latu was a third-round draft choice. So you would think that he would be pretty high up on the depth chart, but he was so disappointing last year. Then the veteran Logan Thomas was signed, but he's had some injuries. Then you got Eric Saubert, who's a little bit of a journeyman. Jake Tongues, who's a little bit of a journeyman. And then you've got Braden Willis, who's a second-year player as well, and Mason Pline. I love what I've seen out of Pline. And now I liked him coming in, but I like him even more after watching him in this camp. He's 6'8". He's got great hands. He's smart. He's big. He's athletic. He's already made some really nice catches. I think George Kittle as your number one tight end, Mason Pline and Braden Willis are kind of both receiving tight ends. I would love it if they had a big, hulking, blocking tight end. Then they could probably choose between Latu and Willis and Pline for, one receiving job. But to me, if the cut down was today, I'm going Kittle, Braden Willis, and Mason Pline.
Can we end the Cam Latu experiment less than 2 years in? I think it's over. I think it was an overreach. And look, I know that people are going to get fired up about that, But over the last couple of minutes, we've talked about this youth movement for San Francisco, how you can replenish the cupboard, restack talent to become a sustainable winner. You're going to miss on some draft picks, but the track record of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are pretty damn good. It can't be denied. Look back at their draft history. They have built this team to be a sustainable winner with some generational players, right? And while you may have missed on Cam Latu, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Dominick Puni, Jarrett Kingston, this youth movement, Diamador Lenore, I think deserves to be in there. Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga, list goes on. This youth movement is very, very important. So end the Cam Latu experiment. I don't think there should be any emotional baggage there of, oh, he's a former third-round pick. You missed on the pick, just like you did with Ty Davis-Price, just like you did with Trey Sermon. All third-rounders, you blew it. It's okay. You're still in a good spot. So I think it's Kittle. Give a chance to Mason Plum, not to be your number 2, maybe Logan Thomas as your number 2, and then Braden Willis. And I think that's a pretty solid room where you have a mixture of talent. Now, George Kittle goes down. Obviously, that's concerning, but you have weapons elsewhere on this roster that I think can make up for it. You'll certainly miss his blocking ability on top of that. But Logan Thomas is an accomplished player in this league. Injury concerns for sure. Braden Willis, smart player, has special teams ability. I think that he could play that H-back like he did at Oklahoma and be a decent blocker. And then Mason Plum is that upside pick. And you kind of hope that you can develop him over time and turn that basketball player into a contributing football player.